Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert is a profound psychological novel that explores illusion, dissatisfaction, romantic idealism, and the quiet tragedy of an ordinary life destroyed by unrealistic dreams. The story centers on Emma Bovary, a young woman whose longing for passion, beauty, and meaning clashes tragically with the limitations of provincial life in 19th-century France. Through Emma's inner world and gradual downfall, Flaubert delivers a sharp critique of romantic fantasies, social hypocrisy, and the emptiness that arises when imagination replaces reality. The novel begins with the life of Charles Bovary, a well-meaning but dull country doctor. Charles grows up under the dominance of his ambitious mother, who arranges his first marriage to a wealthy but unattractive widow. When she dies, Charles eventually meets Emma Rouault, the daughter of a farmer whose leg he is treating. Emma is young, beautiful, and educated at a convent, where she developed a deep love for romantic novels filled with tales of passion, luxury, and heroic love. Charles falls deeply in love with her simplicity and charm, and Emma, believing marriage will offer her escape from boredom and fulfillment of her dreams, agrees to marry him. However, Emma's expectations are quickly shattered. Life with Charles proves monotonous and emotionally empty. Charles is kind, loyal, and devoted, but unimaginative and incapable of understanding Emma's emotional depth. Their life in the small town of Toasts feels suffocating to Emma, who longs for excitement, elegance, and intense emotion. She begins to feel trapped in a life that does not resemble the romantic ideals she absorbed from books. Her disappointment grows into quiet despair, accompanied by vague physical illnesses that reflect her inner dissatisfaction. A turning point comes when Emma and Charles attend a grand ball at the estate of the Marquise d'Andrevilliers. For one night, Emma glimpses the aristocratic world she has always dreamed of: luxury, refinement, music, graceful men, and elegant women. This experience intensifies her unhappiness, as returning to her ordinary life becomes unbearable. She begins to despise the simplicity of her home, her husband's clumsiness, and the slow rhythm of provincial existence. Her dreams grow stronger, but reality grows increasingly unbearable. In an attempt to improve Emma's health, Charles moves the family to the town of Yonville. There, Emma gives birth to a daughter. But motherhood fails to bring her joy or fulfillment. Emma views her child as another burden rather than a source of meaning, further emphasizing her emotional detachment from reality. In Yonville, Emma meets new figures who influence her fate, including Léon Dupuis, a young law clerk who shares her love for romantic ideals, art, and literature. A subtle emotional bond forms between them, but Léon, intimidated by Emma's married status and fearful of scandal, leaves Yonville to pursue his career. Soon after, Emma becomes involved with Rodolphe Boulanger, a wealthy and cynical landowner who sees Emma's dissatisfaction and vulnerability as an opportunity for seduction. Rodolphe skillfully manipulates Emma's romantic fantasies, presenting himself as the passionate lover she has always desired. Emma surrenders completely to the affair, believing she has finally found true love. She neglects her responsibilities, idealizes Rodolphe, and imagines escaping with him to a life of freedom and passion. When Emma proposes that they run away together, Rodolphe, who never intended to commit himself, abandons her cruelly with a letter. This betrayal devastates Emma emotionally and physically, pushing her into a severe illness that nearly kills her. Charles, unaware of the affair, cares for her devotedly, further highlighting the tragic contrast between his genuine love and Emma's emotional blindness. After her recovery, Emma attempts to suppress her desires and conform to her role as a wife, but her inner emptiness only deepens. Emma's dissatisfaction resurfaces when she reunites with Leon in the city of Rouen. Now more confident and ambitious, Leon becomes her lover, and Emma plunges once again into an affair, justifying it through romantic ideals and self-deception. She travels frequently under false pretenses, lying to Charles and constructing an elaborate web of deception. Emma believes that love justifies everything, including betrayal, dishonesty, and moral compromise. At the same time, Emma's material desires spiral out of control. She becomes obsessed with luxury, fashion, and possessions, using them as substitutes for emotional fulfillment. The manipulative merchant Leroux encourages her spending, offering credit that traps her in overwhelming debt. Emma lives increasingly in illusion, believing that happiness lies just beyond her reach if only she can maintain her lifestyle and romantic fantasy. As her debts accumulate and her affairs fail to deliver lasting satisfaction, Emma's situation becomes desperate. Rodolphe rejects her when she seeks financial help, and Leon proves weak and unreliable, unable to offer real support or commitment. Emma's romantic dreams collapse completely, leaving her isolated, ashamed, and trapped. With no one willing to save her and no escape from scandal and ruin, Emma poisons herself with arsenic. Emma's death is slow and agonizing, stripping away the romantic grandeur she once imagined death would have. Her suffering exposes the harsh reality beneath her illusions. Charles is devastated by her death and later discovers her affairs and debts, but even in betrayal, he continues to love her. His grief consumes him, and he dies shortly afterward, leaving their daughter Berthe orphaned and eventually sent to work in a cotton mill. A final reminder of the generational cost of Emma's illusions. Madame Bovary is a merciless examination of the dangers of romantic idealism, the emptiness of consumerism, and the consequences of confusing fantasy with reality. Emma Bovary is neither a villain nor a hero, but a deeply human figure whose refusal to accept the limits of her world leads to self-destruction. Through precise language and psychological depth, Flaubert exposes how society, literature, and personal desire intertwine to create dissatisfaction that no amount of love, luxury, or escape can satisfy. The novel endures as a timeless portrait of longing, illusion, and the quiet tragedy of wanting more than life can give.